Hello and welcome to the TheDimStream. I'm Beverly and today is Thursday, November 10th, 2022. And here with me tonight is the woman that we've all been missing because she wasn't here last week. And now this is her first time on this channel, Alex Maselli.
Hi. Yeah. It was funny. I was supposed to go back to streaming on Tuesday night.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what kind of idiot plans to go back on streaming on election day?
Yeah.
And then I was miserable because of my allergies. Like it was one of those fire ants in my nose days. So I was like, fuck this. I'm canceling. So I ended up not streaming that night. So this is actually my first stream back from my break.
Well, you did Friday. Does that count?
Yeah, I did a little bit of Friday.
Yeah. Hello, Coley. Hi, Wallace Williams. And then I saw Mutterfetcher on Rumble earlier, but he was complaining about bros. I'm not sure if he's still here. I don't think he stuck around. We watched Bros last night, and I don't think he stuck around to completion.
Yeah, well,
did you finish it? You said you started in.
I started it last night, partially to distract myself from everything that's going on, and then I finished it today, and I'll say this, so like as a teaser, I liked it better than movie 43.
Interesting. I mean, actually, I'm not surprised by that though, but I know Motown will probably be very upset since he had pushed for it.
Mutterfetcher says he's here. He's chilling.
He's here. Hello. He is chilling. Yeah, okay, before we get into the movies, I'm going to say we've got the last episode of Occasional Levity on Unsaved Space tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. And we think Elle will be there at some point. I know that she's had some other things going on though, so it was kind of iffy. So we'll plan on her coming, and then we'll be moving that series and over to this channel somehow. It might be like changing times and stuff. I don't know what's going on with my jobs exactly right now too. So like my schedule's kind of up in the air. I've got like some potential things that I won't. Tomorrow I'll have more information, so maybe we'll talk about it on Occasional Levity. But right now I'm like, we'll see. It's a lot of weird stuff. But so we got that on Safe Space, and then I don't even know. What is 451 done with live streaming now, or are you still doing?
Yeah, we're done with live streaming.
Okay, so you're just writing, but there's other things like Dangerous Thoughts is going to phase out, but he still hasn't yet.
Yeah, but I'm working on a long form written thing for 451 about mob cancellation in literature. So it will be happening. I just don't know what the schedule is going to be for that because it's a format change, so there's going to be some growing pains going on there.
With that. Yeah. Hi, Johnny Boy Wallace. You're right. I changed it. Like when I first did, I did 7 p.m. Eastern by accident. And then I changed it, but it didn't like update everywhere either. And neither did Rumble. Like when you try to change the thumbnail, it doesn't let you change it. Like it'll say it updated and then it doesn't actually. And I did it like 10 times and then gave up.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah. So I did update it. I forgot, people were probably confused. It says it's set at 9 p.m. Eastern, and then I just said I just lied to them. So you gotta figure it out though. I've got what I was gonna say. I wanted to talk about real quick. So I don't remember if I mentioned this on air. I had an internet service that would use like the phone towers and stuff. And then they told me last month, hey, with phone regulations, we have to terminate all accounts that go over 1 terabyte.
I remember that.
And then, so I did it, like I returned the thing, and I got to talk to Carlos of AT&T. He hooked me up with internet. But the first internet company, I just got charged for it again today. And I was like, well, I guess I need to contact them. Like they've got my modem back and like I'm not using their service, but I got charged $90. So I called them and the girl answered and I explained to her like, hey, you terminated this last month. I did this thing, but I'm still being charged. Can you like cancel my card and everything? And she like got my name and stuff. And then she said, I'll let them know. And I thought, who's them?
Yeah.
Like, so you can't like do the cancellation yourself. Like, who am I talking to? Like, why on the phone? Like, you can't like make sure say like, all right, this is updated, we're good. Like, you're canceled, you'll get a refund and blah blah blah. And so I was like, is there anything else that I need to do on my end? She's like, no, you're good. Okay.
I would think like in a couple of days I would call them again to check on the status of that, and then like if it doesn't move forward, like you don't see a refund or anything like that, I would contact my credit card.
Oh yeah, that's I checked it for, but the transaction hadn't posted yet. But I've had to do it before for other things too, and I'll say that it's Discover because I'm very pro Discover. I think they've always been good as far as the customer service goes. Because whenever I've been like, hey, this company, like I can't get them to stop charging me or whatever, they're like, oh, we can block them and they won't be able to charge me anymore. We'll refund you. Like, yep, perfect, thank you, great.
Yep.
And like, that's what I'm probably gonna need to do for net all over or for the internet. Sorry. But but I'm like, you have to wait till the transaction has posted though. So
yeah, you do. I know that's true of what my bank accounts too, my cards, and I have had to contact them and get money back before. It was funny one time. I had ordered pets. This was early on in the lockdowns and everything. I had ordered PetSmart and it was delivered by DoorDash, and they only gave me like a quarter of the cat food I ordered. Charged me for all of it, and I was like, "What the no?" So I like called PetSmart. Like at first I called, and that's hard because it's also DoorDash, you know. And I called DoorDash and said, you have to call PetSmart. So I called PetSmart, and they're like, oh, yeah, definitely. We'll take care of it. Nothing happens. So then I contact my bank and tell them. And then they're like, okay, they charged me. Because I had to order cat food. Like, I had to go somewhere else and order cat food because I needed that. And, like, I was like, I'm not ordering from PetSmart, DoorDash anymore. But then, I get a letter from my bank saying they gave it back to you and here's some documents. So then I was like, no, they didn't. You didn't look, like, you're my bank. Look at my freaking card.
It's not there.
You can see that they didn't charge it back. And then like I called PetSmart again, corporate, and I talked to them and they're like, oh my God, we never hit complete on the refund. They were like, I'm so sorry. I was like, yeah. Do you see why I contacted my bank? And they're like, yeah, we apologize.
Did the bank not do it though either? When you were like, you can see that it's not there, they didn't.
Like when they sent me the letter, I decided I'm just going to call PetSmart and see why they're saying they've given it back when I know they haven't.
Okay.
And then if they were going to be belligerent or wrong basically about this, I was going to call my bank after that, but I didn't have to.
Maybe I'll do it once. Sometimes I'm just too sometimes I don't even remember. I'm like, when it's been like, I don't know this transaction or something, so that makes it difficult too. Or but yeah, sometimes I'm just like, it's easier, like they'll do it for me. Like they're like, all right, we'll contact them. Like, thank you, I don't have to do this myself, so you just let me know your verdict and then we'll go from here.
Mutter Fetcher said driver ate it on the way. That's pretty funny.
Munching on it.
Yeah. I mean, it was more than $100 worth of cat food. It would take you, and they were cans too. So it's like
was hungry.
Yeah, that's a lot of food to eat.
Driver, was it DoorDash? They probably don't make that much. Speaking of money, though, I have a Subscribe Star. So if anyone would like to join that, let me just plug that in. Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand. And you now order from Chewy though, right? Because like was that
Yeah,
before?
that's
Like
where
I
I
love
get all my
those
cat food from.
things that'll promote like Chewy.com. I love.
Which
They,
they have a warehouse in Goodyear, which is within the Phoenix metro
mhm.
area. So it usually comes like super fast.
Yeah.
And one time I was like just talking to them because I was like, I don't know what's up. My cats are eating the food. They came in weird boxes, and then she goes, okay, give me a moment. And I'm like, okay, I'm like waiting on hold for a little bit. And she comes back and she goes, we've refunded you the order. And I
Yeah.
was like, what? Like, I
Yeah.
was, I
They're
was,
so good about that. Like, and even when I'm just saying like, oh, I always just do the chat live chat, but then they're like, oh, like this can is damaged or something, so they'll might do like, we'll refund you for the damaged cans, and um, yeah, and then they send like cards too. They're like, happy birthday to my cats and stuff. So, like, I really, yeah, I love Chewy. So if you need to order pet food or pet supplies online, Chewy.com, sponsored by, brought to you by
yeah, they
Chewy.com.
need to do a tiny sponsor for us for
Yeah, yeah,
Chewy. we
very.
we recommend Chewy.
Speaking of service, I had so many weird things. I went to lunch with a friend, and the other day, and they at the restaurant, whatever I ordered some sort of pasta, and they're supposed to give a salad too, and I forgot about it. But when the server came back up, he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't bring your salad. Like, what'd you get for dressing? You know, ranch?" And I said Italian, but like whatever, like it doesn't super matter, like whatever. And then the salad still never came ever, and I decided to like, I don't really need it, and I wasn't paying for the lunch, and so it's just like, yeah.
Gosh.
I was telling my friend how I'm like, it never came, and I'm like, and I even made it easier on them about the dressing not mattering. And my friend was like, well, you didn't care about it, so like clearly you didn't care enough that you didn't want it. Then if you don't care, you don't then you don't get any of it. But that's a fair point. That it's just like you didn't have enough interest to decide on something, so that means you don't want it at all.
I remember once I was at a restaurant and I ordered a second beer, and it never came, and then my check never came, and it was like 2 a.m. and I was like, I have to go. Like,
And
so
like
I
the server
literally
never comes back, and you're like,
they literally never came back. They never
yeah,
came back with my beer, which I ordered like half an hour before that, and like the rest of the restaurant was fucking empty. Like I said,
mm-hmm.
it's 2 a.m. And then like they never came with my beer, and then they never came with the check. Everybody else gets their check in our party, and I was like, I have to go
Oh,
home.
oh, so it was more a group of people, and they all paid, and it was just they totally like forgot you. It probably also split up, and other people paid for you or something though, and
Yeah, wait, it wasn't a split up. We all had our own individual checks, and then and like I ended up leaving because my ride was like, we have to go, and I was like,
yeah,
I
who do
don't.
you talk to? Like, I'm not gonna wait around. Like, this is, you know,
Yeah, I know, and so I left, and then like the server shows up after I'm gone and asks someone else at the table to pay for my check with the extra beer on it that I never got. And, and then like I paid the person back for that,
yeah,
but I also complained because it was a chain restaurant. I complained to
yeah,
corporate about that. I was like, how am like you cannot keep me hostage there. Like if I have to
yeah,
fucking go, like and it's
great,
and especially that late at night. Like I'm sorry, that is so crazy to keep me there. That and like I said, I had to go. I had a ride. I had no other way of leaving. So I was like, I'm sorry. This
yeah. If
is
you're not around to take my money, like I
you
can't do.
literally never came and asked me to pay. So
Yeah,
I remember once when I was in college, this happened. I walked to town. So I was at a dorm outside of the town. I walked to town, and it was several miles. I stayed in a restaurant, this nice, sort of sedate restaurant, for a couple of hours. I had a sandwich, I had a bagel. I was there for like 4 hours. And then I left, and I was almost to the college when I realized, shit, I didn't pay. And I was like, I guess I'm going back tomorrow. So the next day I walked back to this restaurant and I was like, I didn't pay for my food yesterday. And I was like, and I realized it when I was almost like back to the dorms. And they're like, oh, why didn't you come back immediately? Because I walked here. And they were like, they knew how far away the dorms were. So they were like, oh, okay, like what did you order? And I was like, and I told them, and I paid for it. And I was like, also, I would like a sandwich because I walked here. I will pay for that too.
Pay for it now instead.
Yeah, like right now. You can make it after I pay. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't even it was a tip that when I went to eat at this like little cafe, like went to breakfast alone, and it's not something I normally do. And I bought like, I think I paid for it, and I bought something else because it was a bakery too. So I had like breakfast and that, and then they had like a tip. I forget what it was, tip jar or something, and I just like meant to give a couple extra dollars, and then I didn't, and it bothered me though too. So it was just like next time, like days later though, like the next time I went back to town, though, like I stopped in just to give like the tip in the tip jar because I was like feeling guilty about it. And I think when I was talking to the girl behind the cash, it was like a family owned thing, and she was just like, oh, you never have to feel bad about that. I'm like, but I did. Like, like having been a server and stuff, like it's just kind of that thing where I'm like, I need to like.
I remember, well, like Coley mentions almost leaving groceries that you paid for.
I have done that, like bread and stuff, like at least a bag of something.
One time, this was really long time ago, I left the grocery store. I had paid for everything that had gone through and got to we were loading up the car and we realized that there was a thing, like one of those 12 packs of soda in the bottom of the cart that never got paid for. And we looked at the receipt. Was it on there? And it wasn't. So we turned around and we went in and we paid for it. We didn't have to do that, but it felt like shitty not to, it's like we put it in the cart because we had the money for it. So why would we just walk away with it?
That varies because I think I've done that. I don't remember, like something with when I realize it at home or something, like, oh, I got 2 bags of grapes, but then I was only charged for the one that I'm like, well, okay. Like some of it I'm just like, yeah. And other times I'll be like, oh yeah, like let me go and pay.
Well, you were home.
Yeah. So it's on this things, and I'm like, all right,
you're in the parking lot, like.
Right, you're close enough to do it and whatever.
You're close enough to turn back around and.
And then I just I didn't super feel obligated. And I'm like, well, I don't even know when the next time I'm gonna go to the store, and just and how much it weighed and stuff too, though. So it's just
that's
specifics. Like I don't whatever. They were the grapes. So it's like maybe if it were like a bigger thing, where I was like, okay, that matters. Like I paid
meat's expensive.
Yeah. So, I like Johnny Boy saying that he went to Pizza Hut with a friend years ago. The waiter greeted us, walked away, and didn't come back for 45 minutes, and he had a check for us. Like I was gonna say, yeah, I've had that where service is so bad. I mean, maybe they're super busy or whatever, and they take that long. But I don't think I've had someone bring a check when you haven't ordered.
Yeah. So I remember I told you about my my recent Texas Roadhouse incident when I went out to eat. The thing is, that's the last time I went out to eat.
Yeah.
So that is my last memory of going to a sit-down restaurant. I'm like, that's a great memory.
Yeah. The one that sticks out to me, we were up in Maine, I think, like my dad, my grandparents, and I was young, and we went to this one restaurant. I remember sitting outside under the patio, and my dad had chowder, and then it was a bad storm was coming in, so they brought people who wanted to come inside, they could, and then they took us past the filled dining room, where people were, to this back part that was kind of by a bar, and it was totally empty except for us, and they put us in the very back and then never came back to us. And so then my grandparents, we left, we didn't stay, and then they let them have it, and then I got that chowder for free. But it was wow, you just forgot about us, and why were we the only people to be sent way back there?
That is so weird.
Was.
I do love reading stories like that, though, about like people receiving bad service or treating servers badly. Like those kind of like interactions. They're like, how many times though do you go out to eat and nothing happens? You know, like it does, like nothing weird happens, or you go to the grocery store and nothing weird
Rarely, I
happens.
guess I'm gonna say rarely. Something weird always happens.
To you. The thing is, though, is that our memories latch on to negative events, and we'll bring them up. It's like that, partially because the emotional connection and the fact that from an evolutionary standpoint, you remember negatives because
And you
they're
learn from it.
warning signs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your adrenaline usually goes up during a negative experience and all this stuff. So like, there's a lot like going on that like why we remember these bad instances.
Yeah.
Way
that's
more.
true, like Amazon reviews and stuff. Like people only go down when it's bad. So that makes sense to me. That like like even just in your own mind, you're gonna remember that. But and I'll say it's not necessarily bad. It's just like every time I go out somewhere, it always seems like they're out of the first several things and it happened to me a few times recently. So when one of the recent times that was just like she mentioned, she's like, what, like, oh, it was super busy. They had some sort of like Halloween like witch walk event or something around the town, and so she's like, oh, we're out of a few things. And before I even ordered, I was like, could you find out which things you're out of first? And then when she listed it, like there were only a couple options. So I was just like, yeah, like that just seems like something to do, like and then I've had previously to other places, it's like desserts and things too, where I'd have to ask and they're like, all right. And then they go back and then come back to me and say like, oh, we're out of that. Okay, here's my second option. They go back, come back, they're out of it. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily blame the servers, but it's just like, can you guys communicate more with like your kitchen to front of house, just so that way because like it happens so often at various places. And there's the salad I didn't get. There's what else? Back in Chicago, I'm gonna just name drop it too. Rosebud down in it's like it's supposed to be like a sort of fancy place, but it's in like a tourist area. And my friends were in town and we went with them, and they had like an outdoor, we weren't like super dressed up, and I think they were supposed to be like slightly fancier. We were just kind of like in somewhat casual wear. And we were like out in the patio. It was like a covered patio, but it was raining outside, and it was dripping onto our table. Like it was leaking and dripping onto our table. So we asked, like, could we move to a dry spot? And they moved us to another table that also was raining down.
Oh God.
So then their inside restaurant was downstairs. So we just asked, like, could we go? And when we went down there, I think they were looking at us like that we weren't appropriate for this type. But we had, what was it? I think we had like 4 of us or something. 4 of us, and it was this tiny little card table that we had to sit at. And it was small, like the menus were huge, so they didn't even fit on the table. The food was really bland, like it wasn't even good food. It was bland Alfredo, bland ravioli. Oh, I think the ravioli, it said cheese or meat were the options, and it just said meat. I remember that vividly. And then and at the end, like we were sitting and talking for a while and finishing up, and then they asked us that they had like a party of 6 coming in though, and asked us to like leave pretty much, like to wrap up and leave. I'm like, how are you gonna fit 6 people at this tiny card table? So all in all, it was a terrible, terrible place. So Rosebud in Chicago, don't eat there. I still
it still exists.
Yeah. Still hold it.
So, that you mentioned desserts, and it kind of reminded me of something. One time I ordered like one of those chiffon desserts at a restaurant. So they make a sheet cake of like it's graham cracker crust and some sort of chiffon cream on top of it. And I ordered one of those, and I was excited for it and everything. And this was before I knew about my diet or anything. Mm-hmm. So I was just eating whatever. And I get it, and there is a thumbprint. Like it's not really obvious, like it's not an indentation, but there is a thumbprint on it, like the person put the blade underneath it and then put their thumb on it to move it onto the plate. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I could literally open your fucking iPhone with this print that you put on this dessert. This is disgusting. And I complained about it. Like, I knew the guy who was in charge of like customer service there, and he was like, and I was like, yeah, that do you see why that was unacceptable? Like, you're not supposed to touch the food like that. That is so bad. Like,
wow.
I was with friends, and they were, and I pointed to it, and I was like, look at it, and they were like, oh god.
I mean, I have eaten things that most normal people probably shouldn't, and I remember there was a cheesecake once that like a couple ordered, like when I was at dinner or whatever with a friend, and she and I saw like they ordered this giant slice of cheesecake, but neither of them ate it. Maybe they had like one bite of it or something. That was just the tip, and it was just like gonna go to waste. So we asked them if we could have it, and of course they like looked at us, but they brought it in, they cut the tip off of it, so we just had to like, I don't want to waste it. They didn't. It looked delicious. They took one bite. So I've been known to eat things that. I remember the same friend too. I found like little donut holes in a cup that was just like sitting on the ground though. They seemed uneaten, and I like wanted. She told me no. So, I will say the one time a different friend and I were in a CVS, and she found a styrofoam box of partially eaten chicken and fries on a newspaper stand, and she took it and ate it, and I ate the parts that weren't bitten off of.
Are you sure you weren't homeless at this time?
We were in college, so we were poor. So there's that. So it's like practice. I just didn't like.
Pretty close.
Yeah. So yeah, all servers are free. Good says Wallace. But yeah, I say that I feel like that eating all those foods helped me like build up a more iron stomach and immunity to things. That was what I like to believe, because I never get sick.
Oh God. Johnny boy quick.
Urban survivalist. Yeah, I know how to get around. Like, you can't pay for stuff though. You get everything for free. That same friend who ate the chicken, I remember, I think it was on my 15th birthday, we were at an amusement park, one of the birthdays, and she found some or like the cheesy, like the what is it called? The fries that have a bunch of like everything on it, where it's like meat and loaded fries. Yeah. Some sort of loaded fries that were sitting outside like by a tree that had like the cement stuff around it, like this kind of sitting area. And they were just sitting on there. So she took, and I didn't even notice it at first. Like, we were just like walking down, and I turned around, and we just see her like, where did you get those?
Everyone magically in her hand.
So she was the bad influence on me, I think, though. Taught me these bad habits. Anyway, it was good talking about food and stuff for a while. We should probably get into movies.
Mm-hmm.
So you liked Bros more than movie 43. I'm not surprised, because movie 43 is weird, but we'll start with I have a lot more notes on Bros than I do movie 43 as well.
So my three big problems probably with this movie, with Bros, was there was some of it that was super cringe.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that was ideology, some of that was embarrassment humor that I just didn't enjoy. The main character, Bobby, was unlikable.
Yes.
Like, horrendously unlikable. And third, they did not sell this movie well. Like, marketing-wise, they really fucked this movie over, I would have to say. Like, part of that has to probably do with what Billy Eichner wanted in the trailers. Because some of it is really pushing his attitude, and I just didn't. I felt like the movie was sold differently than really what it was.
Mm-hmm. Before I respond to that, I didn't notice these on Rumble, so I wanted to.
Oh yeah.
Mutter says about the meat. Ravioli says it's totally beef. Trust us. And Ron Green says the best part of eating at home is you never run out of dessert. Mutter says my wife once had a cockroach leg on her extra plate. Ew. Ew. How did you recognize that it was a cockroach leg versus like
I'm like, I can picture it. It's like brown and a certain size.
Okay, I didn't know if like other bugs might have, but I guess yeah, it's most likely easy to recognize. And he says, "That's it. Someone check Beverly's arm warmers for other people's food." Yeah, I'm one more thing on food. I've been known to like pocket, candy, chocolate or something like in like coats and things too. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll save it for later, and then like forget it. Like it'll end up melting in there or something. Like in like the next year, I've noticed that like there's just this hard thing in my pocket now.
That actually reminds me, I had grabbed a peppermint York and put it in my hoodie pocket and came up here Tuesday afternoon to go take a nap because I didn't feel well. And I forgot about it. So I slept on it.
Oh no.
So it got real hot. Like what do it was in a like wrapper. A sealed wrapper and everything. Yeah. But it got real hot, like mushy. It was like oops.
I think like they rip open, or maybe I just put them in there because they have had just like chocolate in there. And I don't know. Say that's food for the future, says Johnny Boy. Like, yeah, I agree. So anyway, yeah, to bros, like I saw the commercial like right the day before it came out or something. I was just one. I had no idea, and then so I guess they were advertising it once it was out, but like Billy Eichner's character Bobby was definitely not likable. When we watched it as a group movie last night, and it it was just like we were saying how the boyfriend character, he might have been a better protagonist. Like if he was more likable, and then just kind of going from his point of view, might have been better. Like for Billy Eichner, I think a big thing was that when I was trying to figure out, like, okay, let me compare it to say that it's not just about it being like about gay people. Like I was trying to think like if this were a female lead, how could it play? Like it would be bad too, because it would be like, hey, she's going out with the wrong people, she's like dating the wrong thing, and then so she needs to realize that and realize it earlier than like 45 minutes into the movie. Like, even that, like I still don't think you. So that's something that you're like, oh, my life is trash. Now I'm trying to figure, and that happens like within the first act, like sooner. So it didn't. This movie was really meandery. It was so much dialogue, which I love dialogue, like especially in comedy. Like I love like quick, but there just wasn't enough. It wasn't funny enough to like keep it going, and without like really plot moving it forward, it was just really boring conversations each time. I will say Billy Eichner lost a lot of weight. Like he was looking good. He was than I remember being in like Parks and Rec and stuff before. So like he just looked more fit.
Like on the dialogue side, I felt like, well, first of all, I watched it at 1/2 speed, which I do a lot of movies and most books, because I don't know, I don't have a lot of patience.
Wait, 1.5. Okay, I thought you said
1.5.
When you said 1/2, I thought you meant 0.5, like 0.5.
No,
okay.
1.5.
1.5. Okay.
Yeah, 1.5. And like there were parts of it that were that really did make me laugh, like hardcore. I laughed like pretty out loud at them. And then there were parts where I was like, this scene doesn't need to be here. And to some extent, some of the dialogue that focused on Bobby's whole museum thing, I actually was interested in, because it relates a lot to what's going on in the LGBT community right now, being like infected with critical social justice ideology, and the way they kept fighting all the time, and arguing over who was more important and who had the bigger role in acceptance history and everything. And I was like, this is the stuff it has nothing to do with the rom-com. It's actually interesting me. And some of it did play pretty funny. But yeah, honestly, Aaron that's the boyfriend character. way more interesting and
Mhm.
likable. A real struggle. Like, I know that, like, yeah, you're right. You have to like make changes in the first act as the main character, especially in a rom-com, and then you're supposed to get into a relationship, or a semi relationship, and then right before, like, you have to have a fight at some point, like pretty, like, second end of second act
I
kind of.
told them when in the movie, I was just like, yeah, they're gonna need to break up about a half hour before the end of the movie, and then they did. Like I looked at it and like, yep, half hour to go.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why is because, like, what actually needs, so, like, in that first act, the character's supposed to question their current life choices
Hmm.
that will lead them into this relationship or semi relationship that then has a fallout right at the end of the second act. And the thing is about that fallout at the end of the second act, it's actually them trying to revert back to their old habits.
Hmm.
And I do think the movie did that, like, in like, because he literally, in the middle of the actual breakup, where he says he doesn't want to get back together with him, he says, you know, Bobby, maybe this is who I am. Maybe I don't, I can't handle relationships. Maybe I'm too independent. And so that's literally him trying to revert back to what he was at the beginning of the movie, which is definitely something that happens in every rom-com. So I think it's hilarious for him to say that it's not going to be like a straight person's rom-com. And I'm like, well, there, you just did it.
Kind
That's
of, yeah.
exactly what it's supposed to do. So you did it, and then they get back together in the end, and it's all happy.
My problem, and then we're jumping in. We'll jump around though too, but like
Yeah.
with the end there, I felt like Bobby's change of heart kind of like it came out of nowhere. Like it, I didn't really see a reason. He was just kind of like, oh, actually, I am going to do this now, though. Like he kind of had his rock bottom, sort of, but like there wasn't like a something to instigate the change. It was just
I
he,
figured it was the girl, the woman asking him, like, oh, like, are you happy, essentially? And he realizes he's not. And why not? Because his personal life is empty, and it's empty of the one thing that actually made him happy, and that would be Aaron. So
yeah.
that conversation is I think, our set off for it. And
Okay, all right.
immediately after the conversation is when he texts Aaron.
And he goes back
My
to
Yeah. Does
what were
that
you
make
gonna say?
sense?
Yeah. Were you gonna say something else? You said my.
No.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fair. And in the movie's defense, there's a lot of chatter during the film too, though. So some of it just kind of missed like some of the dialogue and things. So like, oh, maybe they did make a point or something, and I was just or I was also just distracted because I was like kind of bored by some of it too. So then I was zoning out, and I was like, oh, what did they say? But yeah, it was just overall, there were some funny points, but I was just really bothered by like like I think the concept could have been fine, and that, but I think the story, like dialogue, like we could have gone a different direction. Like we could have, like I want to just like uh, script the whole thing and gut it out, and then like how would I do this? Doing a gay couple rom com, and like how would it make it that it can make it successful enough that it's not like even with the demographic is going to be limited, but maybe make it enough for like, oh, other people, it's funny enough that anyone would want to see it because it's not just about the romance, it's about like this movie is funny. And I think that broadens it up too, that like any sex and sexuality would
Yeah.
want to see something.
Well, I
So
think for one thing, they needed to trim the fat. Like you said, it's very
yes,
long. Like everyone pointed out,
2 hours.
it's so fucking long for
A
a
rom
rom
com,
com.
like yeah, 90 minutes is a good amount for a rom com. Like it did not
Yeah.
need to be 2 hours.
And I honestly think the first act is where most of the problems really, really happen, because it drags and is
Mhm.
basically saying, this is gay, this is gay, this is gay, this is gay. Like, it's like really like shoving all of that identity at the audience without actual comedy. Like, it's just, that's where most of the cringe takes place too. And I'm like, you don't need like most of this.
Right.
I'm not comfortable with cringe comedy. I think a lot of people, like, I mean, a lot of people are not fans of cringe comedy, and there was too much of it in that first act. So it made it actually like real. That was the hump for me, was the first act, and then it was a lot better after that because, for one thing, there was more Aaron in the movie after the first act.
Yeah. Let me see. What are my notes? Like, I understand that like he's bad at dating, and I think, because it's like, oh, being on Grindr isn't going to find you long-term love. Like hooking up on random, like it doesn't matter gay or straight, you're hooking up with random people from online or at a club and going home with them immediately. You're just unlikely to end up becoming it turns into a committed relationship. And I didn't know, I'm like, that to me, that's common sense. I don't know if that's what people do think in real life, if that happens more often than I think it does, but it's just like, oh, that date that I slept with that I just met at the club and we barely talked, like now we're like, oh, you don't want to continue that. Like, I don't know, like that just, it seems pretty basic to say that like it could grow, but just like from that, it's unlikely that like you didn't have any like bonding in a meaningful way.
Well, dating apps are notorious, for not creating real connections, and I think that's basically true regardless of your sexual orientation. They just suck.
And I don't think it necessarily has to. Like, I think if you can meet, and I have friends that have met online and stuff, and I think you can have that work out, but it needs to be something that's not just about like, oh, we're just going to sleep together. Like, this is just more physical though. Like, you need to have the conversation and everything. So I didn't know, like that might have been the point, to say that like the movie, it just didn't really make that point well, was that doing what you're doing now is not a good way to do it. Like, they didn't really address the fact that you should change how you're meeting, because he did still end up meeting Aaron at a club, but at least they said like, oh, you met him in person, but it was still like, I don't know, like at a club in a shallow way at first, because he wanted to go home with him, and it was, so I still think that like it would have been better maybe if they had met elsewhere. And it's like, here's the unexpected place that you would find love, and it's not about
actually
partying.
Your idea of a rewrite for this has the perfect way to get them together that doesn't involve a club and doesn't involve apps. So Aaron does wills, and Bobby is looking for donations. So maybe someone died, and in their will was a donation to the museum he's trying to build.
Yeah.
And they meet that way.
And then you have like this weird, like awkward, like, oh, they don't like each other or something, like for whatever reason they get off on the wrong foot, and then, or he's still like, you can still have that. Yeah, but that is a way better. Like I said, I was thinking yesterday too, I'm like, Alex and I just need to go through and like, we'll rewrite this and like, here, let's plot out how to make this movie better. But like, that would just be more meaningful. And sure, I guess the point was to try and say that like gay rom-coms are going to be different than, like, but no, it doesn't have to be. Like, when you live the what's it called, like the modern lifestyle of how like they're always sleeping, and I have had friends in Chicago and stuff who were like that though too. Like, that was just their scene, was sleeping around, like partying, drinking and stuff too. Like, that is just what they do. But then it's like, don't be surprised when that you don't find like long-term relationships through that way though. And sometimes, and I don't know if they were, I think they were happy, like they might have been perfectly fine with what they were doing.
Well, yeah, and especially like so far, a big chunk of the stuff is like, they're like, oh, it's going to be different because they're gay, and it's like, well, actually, it's not. Like, one of them is trying to find dates on an app. That's something the modern straight person does. One of them is hooking up with people from the club. Straight people do that too. It's just not a gay bar. Like,
right. Yeah.
So it's like
the human interaction. I don't see why there's like a fundamental difference. It's people like two or more people meet, and then and you find some sort of like commonality or contrast too that you might be drawn to, and like and you like you bond in some form or another, and then that builds up a relationship. And then you have, but in the rom-com thing, you're gonna have to separate. You're gonna have, like it. If yeah, like I think just in real life though, like it's the same thing for most people. That like there, what is the difference? It's just
Well,
you have a lot more gay sex scenes.
well, the thing is, though, is that also the orgy stuff is also not, or like, is it open or is it closed? Our
Mhm.
relationship, that's also something straight people
Yeah,
have that conversation too.
right. Yeah, yeah. Like, are we exclusive, or are we, you know, and
Yeah.
like, I maybe it's, I don't know. Like, I could say that maybe it's less common that it happens among straight about them like doing as many orgies. I don't know, but like, it just depends on like the lifestyle. That's why I think Aaron would be like he worked at like he had an office job and stuff too. Like so he seemed like someone who like yeah he's interested in this type of man and he kind of does the clubbing thing, but he also seemed like he's like I guess the bro thing wasn't even enough either. Like so the point of him was that he's supposed to be a bro, and I barely saw like he seemed kind of relatively normal. Like he barely was broy. And
Yeah,
I
I
was
know. He
like
was
that
only
wasn't in
broy when he was hanging out with other gay men. Like when he
yeah
was like at his job, he was totally like,
yeah.
straight laced, wearing a tie, doing his job. Like he was just a
Hmm.
normal dude. Like it was like really weird. The movie was very unfocused, is one of its problems. I like
Yes.
it there. That's why it's so long. And like there were a couple of moments that I did like. I like the Deborah Messing scene, the first one, because
I thought that was yeah, that yes, I did too.
first of all, like that was rude of him. That was and he needed
Hmm.
to be called out on it. So I and the idea that gay men may come up to Deborah Messing and just tell her like all their problems, totally believable. After
Yeah.
Will and Grace, it was a very successful TV show. um and then I also liked the scene in the park when they start like wrestling, and the group of guys who were like just playing ball like run up like, oh my god, they're fighting, and then they start kissing. Oh,
And there's like, oh, all
oh
right.
sorry, and I'm not. And I'm
Yeah, I
like,
think
that
that made
made
me
me
laugh.
laugh because they were totally, those men were so innocent. They were like, we gotta stop them from fighting
Like,
because they were trying to be good Samaritans, and then oh, it's fine, and they're like, oh, no. I don't know. I thought that scene was very well done. That
I
joke played.
I liked also that when they were having the conversation about like, oh, if they had a movie made about them, and they were saying that like they would want a straight actor to play them as a gay person though, because like, well, it's not acting if you don't do that. And I was thought, whoa, like you're not even allowed to do that anymore. You have to be like the way that Hollywood wants to do it now is you have to be the thing that you're playing. And for them to say
Yeah.
that, I was actually surprised by. I mean, they went back and forth. There were things that like what they had stuff with the LGBT things that I thought were done. Oh, no, not even that part. It was Bobby's activism was the most annoying thing with practically the grooming part where he wanted Aaron's
Oh my
mom,
god.
second grade teacher,
Well,
to
yeah, that part,
on
that scene
about.
was so horrible. That was
Mhm.
so uncomfortable. And like literally he's like, and there I am sitting between my parents at 12 years old, and there are men on 7 naked penises in front of me. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you that you think that's okay? And like when he started that story as well, I was like, well, 12 is not the same as second grade. Second grade
Yeah,
is 7 years old, man. That's a
yeah.
huge
At least,
developmental difference.
well,
We're
if you
talking about
have
5 years.
yeah, you're
I
going to
was
be in
like,
puberty around 12, and and I was really bothered that like the apology happening where like later on the lesson was that Aaron was like, I shouldn't have asked you to change. Like, no, no, you should have. That was not okay. Like, it is not unreasonable for people's personalities to change dependent on the company that you're with. Like,
yes.
I behave differently when like with friends versus with certain family members, like, you know, like if with your grandparents or something, though, like you're not going to be talking about the same things that you might be with, like it's just you in any performance, like especially comedy, like know your audience is a big thing. So that's just like your behavior should change when you're meeting your boyfriend's parents, though. Like you don't be obnoxious about it, though, like having no self-awareness. And then
he didn't have no self-awareness. Like, I mean, like,
I guess, yeah, I mean, like he was aware that he was, but like not realizing that he shouldn't. I think the awareness was that he should have stopped, but he did admit at the end that he,
yeah, like that was the thing, is that like he said, like at first he was just being himself, and then at the dinner scene was purposeful. He chose to do that.
He admitted that he did it later.
He did. He admitted that that was a deliberate choice, and he apologized for it, which I did appreciate. And in a lot of movies, they probably wouldn't even have him apologize for that, because it was completely unacceptable behavior. Honestly, it was terrible. Yeah. And like, but I felt like that scene kind of also pissed me off, because after they both apologize, it's Bobby saying, "No, I don't want to," like he's all like, you know, no. And and Aaron is basically like throwing himself down, vulnerable and begging. And I'm like, Bobby doesn't deserve Aaron. That's the truth of the problem here. And that happens a lot in rom-coms, where one of the two people in like doesn't deserve the other one. And it's really the sign of an actual failure of a rom-com, because of the fact that you've made one of your characters so fucking unlikable that we don't want them to get in this relationship.
Do you, when that happens other times, because I can't think of examples right now of that, do you find that it's usually the man or the woman who ends up being the undeserving one, the terrible one?
When it does happen, it's usually the woman.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was gonna say too, though, because like they're always the one who are probably like hysterical in some aspect, or like, and then they're just even in like an unwoke way, like they just might, the way that they write them, they're gonna still be like annoying traits, like, why do you like this person, like what is likable about them?
And I'm not saying they don't have, they can't be flawed, because that's not the case. Usually you want both of them to be flawed in some way. It's just that there are some characters who are irredeemable in their behavior, like that you don't want them to succeed by the end of the film.
Right. Yeah. Something where they're like a dick or whatever in general. Like, no, like you could just see that like you're not a good person in some form, or not. So then like, I don't like want you to be with the other. And yeah, I think it is a lot of times the woman. Deborah Messing. Yeah. Like you said, her yelling about always being talked to, like, hey guys, I was telling her in trouble, like I was, especially with knowing her in real life, like her, or not personally, but just like what she has said publicly with politics and things too. I was kind of surprised for her to be willing to like let me yell at a gay man in a movie. I didn't expect that.
It was actually funny, but there were a couple of moments where I felt like they were calling out the infighting within the the alphabet soup. Sorry, I'm gonna stutter over it anyway. So, but yeah, like I felt like they like he was pointing out how much they were fighting all the time. Like they were constantly arguing. They were constantly saying the shit, and trying to one up each other. I like the woman who plays the lesbian. Like I've seen her in a lot of other things.
Yeah, I can't remember but like I've always loved her in things that I've seen her in the past.
Yeah, like one of the first scenes with her, they have the napkin, and then she's the one who goes, "Lesbians disperse."
Yeah.
Like a troop or something. I like that actress. I've seen her in other things. She's usually like funny or interesting. She's a character actress, and she does a good job typically. So I liked seeing her again.
Me too.
But yeah, like I felt like a lot of the times they were pointing out how much they fight, and how much they like try to say which one of them is the most important group within the group, and how much of a problem this is. because it's like this strife was not like, you know how hard it made it for them to launch this museum that they were fighting all the time.
Yeah.
It,
Delayed and stuff.
yeah, and
Yeah.
part of it was his attitude, which is why he apologized to them all. Which by the way, the roid rage scene, I was like, what the fuck? He's just being overly dramatic. He literally just injected himself for the first time. He is not having a roid
Yeah,
rage.
he's not. Yeah. But then he kept saying, "I'm on steroids." So like, he was just being dramatic, and probably maybe like a placebo effect too, where like, look at me go. And,
I know.
So that's there were again, like there were parts that I'm like, oh, this is fine, but then so much, like overall it had this like, this sucks, like there's too much about it that I thought was boring or just cringy or stupid. But then there were parts that I did enjoy. On a side note, Mutterfetcher says, I thought of one. Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Titus and his boyfriend are very different, and the show is hilariously weird. Yes, I love that show. And Titus and his boyfriend Mikey, who was like a construction worker or something, though, like Mikey kind of had like, he was like a tough kind of sort of bro-ish, but they had like, and Titus is super annoying. Like he's supposed to be like an annoying guy, but like he's like annoying in a fun way though, and not in a Billy Eichner way. Titus was weird. Like that was a good relationship and show. I really like that show. Yeah. So what was the LGBT thing? I thought he was just too activist though, when he talks so much about with the parents and things. It's just, like, and I get like that was kind of the point, but I'm like, I just want you to tone it down.
Yeah, I do want to say this. This was the cringiest moment in the whole movie, honestly, is when after he receives the text, Aaron, from Bobby, that during the climax, and he's talking to his brother about it, and his brother says, it's like not my story, it's your story. And I was like, shoot me now. That was so obvious and clunky and awful.
That
like
scene was very cheap. Like I'll say a lot of the acting with the movie was really cheap, like bad. It was forced. Like so much of it was like, oh, look at you, this thing is like, it was really over the top, forced acting.
Like this enthusiasm that like they made certain characters have that was just
like saying like virtue signaling. Like we have to act like we care about this though, and it seemed inauthentic.
It was like really like overdone. Like the woman, Bobby's woman friend was like that, and then Aaron's brother was like that. It was like,
it kind of had like this objectifying vibe to it, or it's just like, yeah, you're gay, so you need to have like, I don't know, like if people were doing that about like, oh, like, yeah, look at you, you're not white, and so like here's you finding love as a non, like, I don't know, and I don't know if that was an intentional move of them trying to like show that like, or it was just bad acting that they.
So Johnny Boy mentions the point where what I was talking about was the brother saying that it's not my story. That's also the part where he says that gay men are so much smarter than straight people and everything. And like literally in like the first act, essentially,
they were talking about how dumb people. Yeah,
they were talking about how dumb gay men were and how it was basically a marketing thing that they sold to straight people to tell everyone that they were smart and smarter than straight people. And I was like, you can't have both of those moments in this movie, because
although I guess go ahead.
I was just going to say, it undercuts any meaning in that moment in the climax when the brother says it, because it's like, I remember that didn't happen that long ago. I know this movie's long, but I do remember that. So
I don't know if it didn't have any meaning to it, unless they were just trying to say that like, oh, they were right though, like, because straight people do believe that they're smart, so like it kind of, but it detracts from it. It's like, well, you're not really smart, straight people just think you are, so it hurts that scene for like, emotional development.
The emotional weight of that scene is undercut by that earlier conversation. And if that earlier conversation doesn't exist in the movie, then him saying that at any point in the movie is a virtue signal, like to say that they think they're so much smarter than straight people. It's just a weird thing to think. It's like, what does being gay have to do with your intelligence level? That doesn't like what?
Well, at the same, I mean, yeah, that's just such a like that is such a thing that like not just for gay, but like any demographic where they're like, oh, they're better at this thing here or because of, but and not in like a realistic here are the stats kind of way, but we're just like no, like women are just better, like because like
yeah,
that kind of like fakeness where they just have to tell themselves it.
Yeah, like the end of Scream Queens. Women are better.
Yeah. The cringe, like toilet kind of humor sort of thing though, like that, like I disliked so much of that. But like the one, because there were just certain things that they'd say when I have the line on here when I think Bobby was saying to Aaron is like he was referencing like your penis is in my tiny asshole and like fitting it in there, and I was just like, I don't like hetero relationship, like they don't necessarily talk. I don't know, like I don't need to see that, like see them talk about that so much. And I'm like, and is that what gay couples do? All like, do you need to talk about that all the time though? Like, or like, can you talk about like more real things or emotional things? And it was just.
Well, see, that's something I did wonder about. Like, is that part different because men talk to women differently than they talk to other men? Do men who are into each other like still talk the way that men do when there are no women around? Like I don't like.
I don't know for sure, but I would speculation, like it would say that they would be more similar to like how women would talk to each other, just based on how like a lot of the, especially more effeminate gay men, when their personality types match. So I just think that like the way that like men talk to one another in like a straight way though, like in the testosterone levels, I would think that dynamic would probably be different within a gay relationship, but they're more open. Like, so I guess like, you know, girls might talk to each other more about like girl parts and things though too. So like, I don't know. It just seemed it's the dialogue, and it seemed forced though for cringe humor, like for having to talk like like just for trying to make laugh lines in it, and it was thought like this isn't funny though, like this is unnecessary.
Well, and then also I feel like the trailer actually undercut some of their jokes anyway. Like, so the first orgy scene is supposed to be a bit of a surprise by the way they film it, and by the way it's edited. So like, oh, he's like Bobby, and then it cuts and they're like kissing without shirts, and that's all you see from here up. And then it goes to a wider shot and there's two other guys there. And it's like, you put that in the trailer. Like, you put, so that joke doesn't land because we all saw it in the trailer. So even if we did think it was funny, you've ruined that joke.
Right.
And like they did that for some of their jokes, and I was like, why would you do that? Like you had like you had a setup here that you then underplayed with how you sold the movie. Like I don't understand why they did that. Like a lot of times trailers, I'm sort of like, you fucked the movie over here.
Yeah, and that because we want to show like the things that are going to pull people. I mean, not saying that this scene did that, but like sometimes you spoil, like, let's throw in the good jokes here.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't necessarily call that a good joke, but I can't tell you how I would have reacted had I not seen the trailer, you know? Like, because it was a surprise. It's supposed to be a surprise. Right. It wasn't a surprise.
That's the problem. Yeah, because comedy is all about misdirection and surprise and stuff. So then it's just like, oh, well, you already spoiled it here in the trailer. And yeah, like that's just bad, like editing decisions and stuff too for like building a trailer, I guess.
I mean, trailers are usually made by a different company than the company that than the studio that works on the film,
which is dumb, I think, because like you should have someone who like understands the film, you know, innately to like be able to say like this is like the best aspect of like how to like portray it. So yeah, that's silly. Coley says they say dumb people breed more. If you don't reproduce at all, you must be hella smart. You know, my dad used to have a hat. I think I don't know, like I was just remember hearing about that. It just said stupid people shouldn't breed.
I used to have a T-shirt that someone bought me because I was like one of the first people they knew who had really bad allergies that said allergic to stupid people. And like every once in a while I would like wear it around. I tried not to wear it to like important things, but like I was wearing it on my way into a hotel and I'm like waiting to check in and this old guy stands next to me and he goes, are you about to sneeze? And I was like, what? Like I forgot I was wearing it, and he points, and I was like, oh, and I started laughing because he basically just called himself stupid,
right? And then you sneezed like it's true. Mutterfetcher, what's he saying? Oh, I just see a chat here that says guys are pretty horny all the time. Because it felt like Billy was trying to shock the straights. Yeah, it was a lot of like the dialogue was like shock humor and even some of the scenes too. Yeah. Well, I did really like the one ad for the Hallmark film, the Holly Polly Christmas. I thought.
Oh yeah, God. I was like, they would never make that.
Yeah, I know they wouldn't, but like I thought that was so hilarious. Hi, Pirate Tomsky, welcome. I haven't gotten to watch it yet because I was streaming when you sent that, but I will watch your episode 1 later. Here, I'll put it in these chats. And on Rumble. What else do I have on here? I was complaining about Bobby then asking for you to not be yourself thing, and I was glad that he did admit that he was doing it on purpose when they were arguing about like the parents thing. So I was glad he did admit that. Then the Kamala Harris thing, where that girl did the impression of it. I think Johnny Boy had said that like she I thought I've seen her before. Like she does do TikTok videos, like impressions of Kamala Harris. So that's when she's like quitting her job and like, hey, I've got this going on for me. And I'm like, I don't know. I wonder, like in real life, is she like making enough money to live off of that impression? But I thought that was funny to throw that in there because it's like, yeah, make fun of her, like she sucks, like and then like she got like the laugh and like the fake thing though. Like I don't know why you have this in the movie outside of just like it seems like you don't like Kamala. So
yeah.
Let's see. Here, just change of heart thing. I'm trying to turn it down. Second grade class. Oh, who was it? Someone last night was saying that Rotten Tomatoes, apparently it was like review bombed, and when you look at it online, it says that it's a 90% audience score, and then the movie critics one is like 80-some%. So the audience score is higher. And it's 90. So I think that they deleted all of the negative reviews and stuff that they had.
Probably.
And then, my last thing is just, I really think that it was, I think it was stupidly named. I think calling it Bros was not a good name for this film. Like it had nothing, like if anything, they should have been both broy people. So that was just I don't understand why they decided to call it that. Like it seems like the people who did the trailer were also the ones who named the film.
Yeah, it does feel like that, honestly, because there actually wasn't a lot of that, like, look at these crazy testosterone laden men going on in there. Like it's barely in the movie. Like it's like, here's the thing, when the part where Aaron learns that his old high school hockey teammate is also gay, and he like disappears and he doesn't reply to any of Bobby's text messages for a while. And I was like, what was he doing during that time? And I felt like I never got an answer to that question. Like, was he trying to talk to the guy? I don't, or was he just going through like a like emotional turmoil? I feel like we should there's this movie is so long, and I feel like that section of the movie actually needed to be longer. That we needed to really see from Aaron's perspective what was going on. Because almost immediately after that, when he finally does start talking to him again, he has this moment where he types in a message where he's basically saying, I don't want to see you anymore because I don't feel like we are, you know, on the same wavelength, that we're really right for each other or whatever. And most of it is very like negative towards himself, saying, you know, and I was like, I would have liked to have seen him like talking to his brother or something, something more than just he's not responding to Bobby that whole time. I think that would have been better than a lot of the extra shit that we got.
That's why I think I would have done Aaron as the main character, and then he maybe starts seeing like Bobby comes around, like, oh, this isn't his normal type, like he's not into it. So then he kind of like Bobby's like, I don't want to hang out, and then but he's like, no, I'm into like the more muscular dudes and stuff. So they kind of like, all right, we're not really gonna. And then his friend from high school comes out as gay, and like, oh, like he's my type, like let me try it. And so then they try dating for a while, but he finds out these guys really are dumb, like they're not like, and I like Bobby, like he actually gets me more. He's smart, and just kind of going in that developing it this way. They were like making Bobby less annoying, but he can still be like the different type of man that Aaron wouldn't normally go for. But coming from Aaron's perspective, he's the one who learns that like, hey, I should change. Like I keep going after all the wrong guys, and this hasn't worked for me. So maybe I should try someone else. Like, and he is attractive, and it's just like in a different way, and like that could have played out fine, like because that's the way other rom-coms were, and like they are successful. So
yeah, I know. Although, like I said, I was talking to you about this at one point in like Discord, that movies, especially posters, if you look at posters specifically, the ones with a woman on them big for rom-coms always outperform the ones with men big or equal on the posters. And the reason why is because the people who go to see rom-coms
they're gonna be
women. Like the ones where women are big on the poster, I swear to God, in the opening weekend, they perform as well as the entire theater run of the other ones. So they're like, I'm sorry to say, but I don't, even with a rewrite, I don't think this movie could have done better. Like a lot better. Like it wouldn't have been that successful.
Yeah, I still think that demographic wise, like it's very limited. That's why I was saying before, like outside, if it maybe it were less rom-com and more comedy, and if it were kind of based on like that, would have helped broaden it. Yeah. That's interesting. Like I'm trying to think of, I don't even know any like posters where a woman was like big on it that made me be like, I want to go see this, because I don't think, I think it's just like, oh, Ryan Reynolds is in this film. Yeah, I'm going to go see that though. Like I'm really excited about Spirited with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell. Like I love both. I don't care how terrible that movie is. I'm going to love it because they're both in something together.
Well, and I mean, you don't think the women who go to rom-coms, you know, every time they come out and like really, really love rom-coms and everything, they're not probably us.
No, yeah. That's why I'm like, I can't relate exactly to, like, I don't know any.
Like I love rom-coms. I do.
I love like, come Christmas, that's all we're gonna be doing if we're talking about like December is just gonna be all Christmas movies, and they're mostly rom-coms.
I can guarantee you on Thanksgiving that's probably all I'm going to be doing, besides like one live stream, is to be watching romantic comedies. It's probably going to be what I'm doing. But the thing is though, is that like I don't go to the movie theater anyway. No. I haven't gone in years. So like the likelihood of me being part of that market is not high anyway. But yeah, like this like those, I mean, like I guess you would call these women basic. I don't want to be mean about it, because it's like, you're allowed your taste, okay? Right. Like I'm not going to be like rude about what
their tastes are basic.
Yeah. So, and I mean, like, and to some extent, I understand the attraction that they have to rom-coms over other types of movies. So, because these women don't watch other things for the most part. This is what they like. Things like New Girl, which is it's a fun show.
Yeah.
And Friends and
Winston was my favorite in New Girl. So,
to
be clear, he
throwing
was
that one out there.
I loved
I forgot all their names.
He was the one with what was his cat's name? He was the black guy with the cat, and he just had like goofy stuff. Like everyone else had things going on, and he just had like weird like whatever was going on with him. Like he was the best.
Is he the one who married the cop? And he was also a cop?
Yeah, I don't know if he got married, but yeah, I think he did become a cop later on.
Oh, okay.
That was toward the end. I forget now.
Yeah.
He was the replacement because they had Coach, but then he was only in the pilot episode, and then they replaced so Winston. He was just kind of like a nerdy black guy.
So he became a cop. He married his partner, who is the woman from Screen Queens season 1.
Oh yeah,
Tina.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Okay. Yeah, like I didn't remember that he got married during it, but like maybe we'll watch that show later. Also, Pirate Tommy put an Elf review, which does bring up a point that like Elf was super successful movie about a leading guy, but it had romance in it. It did have Zoe Deschanel, like it had the rom-com part, but the focus was on Buddy being like so it's just kind of like you have the comedy first, and then you have the love interest as a secondary, and I think you could have.
Yeah, I agree. It was definitely more comedy, like a holiday comedy movie.
Mm-hmm.
But almost every movie has some romantic element to it, by the way. Like we talked about Tucker and Dale versus Evil like a while back, and that movie has a romantic element to it too. Mostly just because people are interested in seeing people like come together in, union. So to me, I'm sort of like almost everyone expects that at some point in a story. It's weird when it doesn't happen. There's pretty singular stories.
I hadn't thought about like in my senior project in film school, like I was trying to do like here's my A plot, and then I wanted a B plot to be just visually in the background. But then and I was trying to figure out like what can you do, like how can I do something just visually, like what's a story that I can tell with just like you're only seeing the background, like how do I, and I think my friend had to suggest like a romance story, like oh yeah, that would be easy to do. Like it did not cross my, like romance was not in my wheelhouse at all for me. Like the main plot had nothing to do with it at all. In the background, I'm like yeah. And then that was just really easy to come together where like the guy had a crush on a girl, but she was dating someone else. So then like you just see like it was in the background of whatever the main scenes were going on. You'd see like the guy trying to like talk to the girl, and the boyfriend like walking up and just like punching him in the background and beating him up and stuff. Like so like everything, like all of like this very physical comedy like happened in the background of just like the main scenes as we're like talking about whatever else. But like like having a romance and the plot line was just like it did not come to me at all.
So Johnny Boy Quittraw says The Thing doesn't have romance or a plucky, funny sidekick character, and it's one of the greatest horror movies, but it failed at the box office. So there's that. Lol. And that is somewhat true. Like there's a lot of these cult favorite movies that people end up loving and like watching, and they make videos and write articles about these movies, but it takes time with those films. Almost every film that is like a pretty big success has some very specific elements to them. Because first of all, The Thing doesn't have any women in it. So that's an entire audience, like a huge audience group that's not fucking seeing that movie for the most part. Like there's a lot of people who, yes, are very shallow and want to see that. Like, the thing is, though, is that men and women are actually tremendously different. That is true. Unlike all these other groups.
I don't think I have seen The Thing. I've seen the other stuff though.
I like it. It's very good. It's sci-fi horror.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm surprised that I haven't seen it yet. But Pirate Totsky says my favorite romantic comedy is Fight Club. I actually haven't seen Fight Club. I know. It went so long
Bro.
having never known what the actual plot and so like, and somehow like not too long ago it got spoiled for me of like what it is.
Aw.
So I was disappointed. I never thought about it though. Like it just wasn't a movie. I'm like, I don't know, Fight Club stuff. I'm not really interested in watching that. So it just never. But I should. Like,
It is definitely worth watching.
yeah. Like I said, well, we have so many movies that people have suggested too, so that'll be something that we'll go through and like watch some classics and things that people are like, Beverly needs to watch these. Oh yeah, their chat's mad now. Is that Coley's
Yeah,
saying?
now they're like, skip the bad movies. We'll catch up with some classics.
Yeah, my concern about watching good movies that like, and no offense, it's just in any group, is that like if talking happens that like I'll have to pause and stuff more and I'll rewind. Like that's fine, but I'm gonna be pausing and rewinding more because I don't want to miss out on dialogue. So if we're gonna do it in groups, it's just gonna take long extra time.
I really like, I pause movies so much. It's one of the reasons why I don't go to movie theaters. I pause them way too much. Sometimes I'm writing notes. Sometimes I have something else I need to do. Like honestly, sometimes I didn't hear those last words because a cat was screaming in my ear.
And I just get distracted by like anything at all, and I'm like, yeah, what happened?
Also, I need breaks sometimes because if the movie is like really bad, I literally like I'll pick up my phone and start scrolling social media, which is what I do when I'm bored. And so I'm sort of like, that's a bad sign. That's a really bad sign. So then I pause the movie.
Yeah.
And I like chill for a while so I can like refresh and come back to it.
What do you mean you're those people, Pyrotomsky? the pausing people, or like no, there are times too, that I'll, especially a movie that's 2 hours long, like I can't sit for that long. I need to take a break and figure out stuff. Oh, what is it? Numb or like bruh.
See, the Pirate Tomsky says, so take the remote and phone away from Alex. Got it. The problem with that, Pirate, is that if I literally have no way of distracting myself, I will sit there and daydream. My eyes will be right on the screen, but I will be I'll be 1,000 fucking miles away. I'll probably be like writing something in my head instead, or planning something out for like farming in Destiny 2 or Warframe. I will be somewhere else.
I do that with reading. Like sometimes, like I can read out loud. I can read like so, and like input like characters and stuff too, but then have no idea. Like it did not sink in with like what I actually read. Like, but I can put like all the emotion and stuff into these characters, but it did not sink in. I don't know how. Johnny Boy says you should treat the good movies like the book club, set up a stream for after everyone can watch it, and the stream would be for discussion. Yeah, I'd be down to do that.
Yeah,
so then
especially for good movies.
So then we probably like we wouldn't really chat during it. We watch it and then we just stream and do all our. So then everyone would be like me, and then I guess Alex too. Like you write down your notes as we're going through, because that's what I do when I watch stuff. But then sometimes I don't write down notes because I'll watch it first and think, oh, we should talk about that on the show. Like I didn't write down anything. Women.
Mutterfetcher says turning on subtitles might help with the watching with others. I never watch anything without subtitles.
I always want to. Yeah, it's hard to do it when we watch them on together though, because depending on where, like when we're watching it on like some whatever side website, or it's one that I had to upload, and so we're watching it through that. Like I can't get the subtitles there. So if we're watching it through like Hulu or something, we can't. Like I almost always have closed captions on. Yeah, Pirate. We live stream. Oh yeah. We don't have to like do an actual recording. When we watch them, we go through the Discord. Or usually we just have like a chat, and then we've been using Hyperbeam to watch stuff. when it is available, because other times it's just like, oh, we're busy right now, so hang tight. We'll see if we get a room for you, a server for you. So, but
Last
Discord
night I clicked on the hyperbeam link and it said you don't have an invite to this room, and I was like, all right, fine, fuck off.
like, I put it in the Discord, but like sometimes it'll say like, oh, it doesn't work anymore. But I have like the bait, and I never know, so I have to like I just post like new links each time, and but I don't understand it. It is not the most efficient thing, but it's free right now and it works sometimes. So
and it works sometimes. I like that.
Cheeky watch party in Discord, yeah. That's why I can't stream through Discord because like trying to do like a movie from my computer to Discord, it gets so clunky and stuff. And I don't even think it's just my internet. It seems like other people when they've tried it too, like it just is really.
Discord is so resource intensive for data. They need to fix that because it really shouldn't fucking be. Like, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
Like, at that point, I'm like questioning what you're doing to the data.
With your life. Oh yeah, it did randomly boot us off after 90 minutes last night. It just said like, hey, at one point it said they were going to do an ad, so like it did that, but then later on it was just like, nope, sorry, you're done, and so we had to refresh and started working again. So it which maybe it's saying that movie should not be, at least that movie should not have been 90 minutes long, or sorry, it should have been 90 minutes long.
Well, maybe that's what it's expecting movies to be.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so real quick, I don't have a lot to say about movie 43 anyway, so it's okay that we spent so much time on this one. But before we do that, I just wanted to mention the Henry Cavill thing because we put that in there. I didn't realize this. I just happened to hear about it. And I guess like it was a couple weeks ago or whenever that was announced officially that he is no longer going to be in The Witcher and going to be replaced by Liam Hemsworth. And I don't know. I heard some rumor that like maybe there was some like drama going, like it was some stuff that he might have said that Hollywood people don't like, but I don't know for sure. It sounds like the official is that maybe he's just doing Superman and that he can't commit both things. I don't. So do you know?
That's probably the story they're telling people to give a clean.
You think there is something else that there always seems to be something
what
else.
I think is going on, first of all, Henry Cavill is king of the nerds, like honestly, because he is a nerd.
Yeah.
And I say that like with love for Henry Cavill.
Of course. And I was just thinking earlier how much I love nerds. All nerds.
Yeah. And the thing is though, is that I think, which is he's not the only one who left. The show.
Oh, really?
Left too.
Oh.
He left and he's going to do something on Disney Plus. I can't remember what he's adapting, but it's an X-Men thing. And his rule for this new X-Men show he's going to be doing is that all the writers have to be fans.
Oh.
And because the real problem with The Witcher is that most of the writers for The Witcher didn't like the games or the books. And Cavill liked the games, loves them. Most people love the games. So I can't imagine that was a very fun project for people who were actually fans. I would not want to stick around. And now fans, because fans love Henry Cavill and they love him as The Witcher, they've created a petition to have Netflix fire the writers and bring back Henry Cavill. And it has a lot of signatures.
Wow. Yeah, I thought I heard about that too. Yeah, because it's just, I don't know. Like I am already, I think The Witcher is okay. Like I thought it got more interesting at certain parts and things, but like the only thing that really kept me watching was Henry Cavill play. Like oh yeah, he's interesting to watch. But like without him, I just don't think I'm gonna care at all. And like Yennefer was not really someone that I like that much. And so I don't know. I hope that they bring him back. And I've heard that that's why Johnny Boy says that he seems more and more based. And I have heard that because the one thing that one thing that I heard about him, to talk about Enola Holmes too, real quick. uh, with Millie, what's her name?
Millie
something.
Bobby Brown.
Bobby Brown. So I watched that yesterday, and I was thinking about how like people were upset, like because Henry Cavill plays Sherlock in there, and I think he's a very, very good Sherlock, very good looking Sherlock too. He, but they were mad about him, like, oh, he's too like the fans of Sherlock Holmes are mad because like he's too soft, like he needs to be like a harder character, like colder and stuff, like he's too. But for me, I was like, I'm okay with like this is an alternate universe and where he has a little sister now who's like 16 or whatever, like that will change things. Like they have the mom involved. Like here's like some parenting, here's like stuff that's going on that like that the world has changed. But the movie, the first one wasn't as bad. They had like a little bit of like woman power, so it wasn't too bad. The second one got a little bit more than that. The thing that like where I changed my mind, and I'm still unsure how I feel now though, because I was trying to go back and forth, was that they, spoiler alert to anyone who's planning on watching this, they made Moriarty a Black woman. And so then that was like a twist, and I was like bothered by this. But then I was trying to think like, am I being hypocritical now? Because I said like I'm okay with like an alternate universe that they can change it. So like technically, I should be okay with this change. But then I was thinking about how like it feels forced though because of like if it's a Hollywood move of just like, oh, we need diversity and this is why we're making that change though. So it's hard for me to like separate like, oh, it should be okay with me. Like I was okay. They brought in Watson at the very end as someone like, oh, he's gonna get a roommate, and they brought him in, and he was like an Indian guy, maybe like he had a British voice, but he had like brown skin, so he might have been had like Indian descent or something. And I was okay with that. I was like, I'm okay. There was something about like Moriarty, and I think maybe it felt like more of the diversity move than.
There's something weird about Moriarty when they fuck with Moriarty's character that like that's the one that feels the strangest. For some, I don't like. I'm not exactly sure why, because they did it in Elementary,
really?
And it was uncomfortable there, and like I don't know, like I don't know that Moriarty. There's something about him that I feel like maybe needs to be left alone. I'm not.
Well, so maybe that goes into like how and I was trying to compare to Little Mermaid, and like I still believe that like when you're trying to that a lot of iconic characters, like when you know like visually, like they really stand out in some form, and like even sometimes it's like Sherlock Holmes changes, like he's younger, like age change, like and stuff like so, but there's something about like Moriarty like being a man, I think was an important part. I think if you were a Black man in here, I think I would have been okay with that. I think changing both race and sex, I think changing the sex was the biggest thing for me. And so I think that's what bothered me, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of like, it is an alternate universe. So like, am I okay with this? And I don't know, but it's the iconic characters. Like if Little Mermaid, they changed the storyline and they did like a real alternate universe of like, this is just a new version and we're spinning other things, that might've been more okay with like replacing Ariel with a Black girl. But like, because they didn't do that, and they're just trying to do like a remake of it, then I'm bothered by replacing the iconic character. So I was trying to figure out how I felt about Enola Holmes with this change, and then it just kind of got more like woman power. They did include Sarah something or another, like there was at a the Match Girls thing, and it was a real life historical thing where like they needed to strike because people were getting like we're getting sick and stuff and dying or something though. So she led like the first strike out of there. So like they included that. So I guess it's okay because it was just something where they were like trying to push in some like woman power thing, and I was like wavering on like, is this good or preachy?
So Johnny Boy Quitrow makes a good point, and maybe this is what I was picking up on.
Yes,
and could not think of that Moriarty is like a mirror image of Holmes, so he should be like Holmes but evil.
So then yeah.
So if Holmes was a woman, then Moriarty being a woman would make more sense.
Yes, I agree. Like if they made Sherlock Holmes, like they do the Shirley Holmes as like a Nickelodeon show or something, I think.
Yeah.
But like, so yeah, if they gender bent, it would be cool to gender bend everything. But like, if they at least did that and made Sherlock Holmes a woman and Moriarty a woman, like, yeah, I would be okay with this. you're right. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. So thank you, Johnny Boy.
Yeah, I feel that was really good. Thank you. But like although at the same time, there is so much of this, like, especially of like, we have to make women the stars of everything, and that is getting a little tired because, and here's the reason why. It's not because I don't like seeing women. That's not the case. It's because of the fact that all the women end up being perfect and at the same time insufferable.
Yeah,
On the personality
they're
side.
not flawed. They're Mary Sue's and annoying and yeah, and I agree. Also, Chris says Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, like it's driving me crazy. Like I can't. I'm like, you're wasting all these opportunities. It's like it's like the whole thing about, we want to make a medical drama, but we don't know anything about medical stuff. The people behind the show wanted us to follow around real doctors, but instinctually that felt wrong. Like they don't have any authenticity to it. And what I'm quoting there is that Mitchell and Webb look. So it's about this idea that sometimes writers don't know what they're doing, and it shows. And I think when it comes to like a lot of the women that we're seeing lately, these writers don't know what they're doing. They have a problem where they want to make this woman strong and powerful and everything, but then they overpower them. And then at the same time, they want to make them assertive, but they don't know what assertive looks like. So instead, they just make them cunts. And it's so we have these terrible fucking characters. And it's like, thank you. You know, there was a time in the 90s and the early aughts where we were getting a lot of female main characters who were flawed and strong and interesting and well performed. And you ruined that. Thank you. I appreciate that. I needed you to ruin that for me.
All good things must come to an end. Johnny Boy, this is wrong one. A surprising minority in the Robert Downey Jr. movie was portrayed solidly. I liked everyone in those movies, especially Stephen Fry as Mycroft Holmes.
I was so bored. I watched the second movie, but I don't remember like any of it.
I liked all of it. I mean, I haven't seen him in a long time, but I remember enjoying. And I think I still enjoyed the second movie too. I was very upset that they killed off what's her name, the woman. I can't remember her name now. Rachel McAdams' character.
Oh, you mean Irene Adler?
Irene, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they should never do that. They always fuck up Irene Adler. Like I've not seen an adaptation where they played with Sherlock Holmes where they didn't fuck up Irene Adler.
Yeah, I didn't like Sherlock series, and they made Irene British. I'm like, she was supposed to be American. Like, why did you just change that one aspect and make her British?
And they made her lose.
Yeah.
I was like, no, that's not what's supposed to happen.
Like the one time that you should make the like the female character, like it's okay to let her tie or win or something though, like, and you don't do that.
Really?
But okay. Oh, the other thing too. So because I think we could talk more on that, but we should talk about movie 43 at least very briefly because I know we need to wrap up in like 15 minutes. But I learned the other day Aaron Carter died.
Yeah, he did. So this is how I learned about it. Everyone was talking about Kanye West, everyone, you know, and then someone said something about how posted the last tweet Aaron Carter ever sent, and said, and he died the next day, and I was like, what? And I looked it up, and Aaron Carter's Twitter is still up, and it literally says his last tweet it's still up, and it's to Kanye. It says, "Yay, hey, let's talk man to man." And he died the next day. He was only 34.
What? See, I don't. Did they say anything? I was like, what? How? Because it was just, I think it was like unknown or something before, but. Is it still unknown? I was assuming maybe drugs or something, like, young celebrities. I don't know. He always kind of looked kind of gaunt when I've seen pictures in years before, or do you think this is like
I went
conspiracy
down a
stuff?
conspiracy rabbit hole over this shit. I seriously did. And I'm not completely discounting it or just the normal celebrity death. But like, so I found this guy who says that he was MK Ultra'd by the CIA. And he said that Kanye and Aaron Carter were both also MK Ultra'd by the CIA, and that Harvey, the guy who sent Kanye the message in Twitter, or the message saying that he was going to have him committed if he didn't start behaving himself, and he's a celebrity handler, whatever the fuck scary that thing is, and he said that guy is a CIA agent who handles celebrities, and I was like, what the fuck? And then I remembered that years ago, a couple of years ago now, Rose McGowan said that she was handled by the CIA too, and I was like, and people were saying, oh yeah, they build up celebrities and control them to help control the narrative and how we think about big social issues, and I'm sitting here going,
I can't believe that. Yeah, at this point, I believe anything of 3-letter agencies that they are capable of whatever. Yeah. Wow.
I'm not doing the whole Philadelphia thing with all the connections. I'm not Charlie Day over here, but I was sort of it is suspicious.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, I'm really curious to see at least what the official record will say about his death, though, because again, he was so young, and then I had "I Want Candy" stuck in my head today, and then I realized oh, yeah, he did it.
It was funny though, because they were like, rapper Aaron Carter is dead, and I was like,
rapper?
Who? And I had to look him up, and they're like, younger brother of Backstreet Boys, Nicholas Carter. I was like, oh, that Aaron Carter. Okay, he was popular after I didn't give a shit about.
Yeah, I immediately knew. I was super into him. But I just he was around on stuff that I watch and everything. I think he was in an episode of Lizzie McGuire, and I would hear the music play and stuff. So
I just remember being in the mall as a teenager and walking past these other teenagers. I was with my sister, and we hear part of this conversation, and this girl had to be 17 years old, and at the time Aaron Carter was 13, and she's all like, oh my god, that Aaron Carter is so cute, and me and my sister both hear that, we burst out laughing because we were like, he's 13, you're almost an adult. This is just a weird kind of, and that's always what I associate.
She been cute and a little kid cute.
She was doing the
oh, you're fawning over him.
It was weird.
Johnny Boy says he was gone, now he's gone. Too soon, Johnny.
Too soon.
Chris says that Aaron Carter agent has apparently been linked to a number of other deaths. His name pops up in at least a few celebrity death articles. He hasn't looked into it deeply and is making no assertions. Well, I'm all about conspiracy theories, so...
Well, and that's the thing, though, is that there were celebrity handlers back in the 60s, not necessarily connected to the CIA, but not necessarily not connected to the CIA either, but that would drug in the 60s and earlier, would drug celebrities and control their lives. So it's to me, this idea that we always have that oh, that happened in the past. That would never happen.
Oh yeah, it couldn't happen now. What makes you think that?
What changed?
Right. Also, Mother Fetcher just died suddenly. Going back. Oh, he also says Fight Club is one you can absolutely watch without being spoiled for you. That's good to know. I was trying to go back to the one that he said about you got to put Paul Rudd in your rom-com to get me to watch it with my wife. Paul Rudd, he and Ryan Reynolds, I think, are both people who have gotten better looking with age. While I was waiting at the car place today to replace all 4 tires that cost a lot of money, and I got there at 2, which is when they told me that I needed to, like, that was my scheduled time. The guy was like, I have you in for 3, but we'll get you in as soon as we can. Cool. Don't, like, I was like, I even double checked. It's like 2 o'clock on Thursday, and I put it in my phone calendar immediately.
Did you set the appointment? Did you set the
Before-
appointment before the
daylight
time
savings?
change?
I thought about that, and I'm like, no, it was on Monday. It had happened.
Oh, okay.
But then he like was mentioning to someone else later on. He's like, oh, the 5:45 appointment came in at 4, and I was like, I think you have something like going wrong with on your side. Like if you have multiple people coming in at different times, I think this is on your end.
Yeah.
So anyway, while I was sitting there, they had the TV, it had trashy whatever like reality talk shows of like drama thing, and I finally realized the remote is sitting next to me. I can change the channel, and I changed it to Friends. So if I just watched like the last like 4 episodes of Friends, because I was there for 2.5 hours, and I had Paul Rudd in it. I forgot that he marries Phoebe.
Yeah, he does.
But I was just looking at him. I'm like, man, like he's okay, but like I just think he looks better the older he gets. Like Ryan Reynolds too. Like they have baby face going on, and I just think like, yeah, you look way better nowadays.
Yeah. I thought Timothy Dalton looked better the older he got. Like he even all the way up into his 70s, I was like, no, you got better. Like
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with that. I'll have to look at that.
Motherfetcher says tire place running on Windows 95. All right, let's talk about
real quick. Yeah, we'll wrap it up there. Movie 43. You disliked it more than you did Bros, which I think I disagree with, but I understand why you might think that.
I felt most of the sketches lasted too long.
I agree with that. Yes.
Well, and this is the problem with like sketch comedy sometimes, and not to shit on something I know you like. I like it too, but I just feel like this is a problem that it can have, is that they have this budget and this time to fill. And this budget means they can't do as many sketches as are needed at the length that is best for those sketches. And so they end up dragging out sketches.
Oh, I mean, I 100%
think it's a
agree
common
with
problem.
that. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, like SNL sucks like a lot of the time because they, it's live, so they need to have longer sketches to be able to, like, it's harder to change. Even though you have like a gajillion actors, like you can swap out, like have them being in all different scenes. But yeah, like I generally think that around 3 minutes is a good sketch length. You can go maybe up to 5 depending on stuff, but like I think that's even pushing it. So like a lot of the ones that I've written might be closer to like extended blackouts, like around like 1 minute or something. Like I think comedy is like timing is important, but also like being concise and stuff. Like you get your point across, and like the longer it goes on, the less likely it is to end up being a good scene.
Like the first sketch with Kate Winslet and Hugh Jackman, where he's got balls, I felt like it should have ended before they started trying to gross her out, and that was the joke every time. Because like when it was, the joke was that no one but her was reacting to the balls. That was funny. And like the part where she's like trying to like make eyes at the waiter and like, and like she's trying to confirm that she's not
anyone else. Yeah.
That part was all funny. Once it started into this like let's gross her out stuff, it stopped being funny, and that's where it started to drag. And then the sketch at the end with Josh Duhamel and Elizabeth Banks, when she's hitting the cartoon cat down the road, with the shovel, and then she's hitting it, and then like it pulls out, and to a wider shot, and you see she's now in front of a kid's birthday party hitting the cat. That should have been the end. Because to me, with most sketch comedy, I think it should end at the highest point. Like I think it should be like at
there are points for blackouts. Like here's like the laugh line, and then you black out.
Yeah, but then they extended it further past that, and that was like not funny anymore. I'm like, I don't know why they do. Like, I mean, I know why they do it, because they don't. They, like I said, they're like, we have money for this many sketches, we have to fill this much time, and I'm like, this drives me crazy. The one of the sketches that I did like was the one with Chris Pratt and Anna Faris, because even though it was longer, it had those segments to it, like where they change where they are and what's going on in the scene. So it kind of like reset what was happening essentially. And I thought that one still worked, and Chris Pratt did a really good job of acting, taking it straight the whole time.
He's so, it's so weird to see him look, because I'm like, oh yeah, like you gained weight for Parks and Rec, and like he's also someone too, like you look way better now than you did before.
Yeah. And then Anna Faris does a really good job of playing the absolute most ridiculous straight. But yeah, so like that sequence was to me the best sketch. I'm not a huge fan of scatological comedy, but I thought that one was the best.
It was interesting, like the concept of it, like getting all these big actors to play like really weird, kind of like cringy, toilet humor thing sometimes though too. Like I thought that idea was fun though, just to see that happen. I liked Stephen Merchant. I think that scene with Stephen Merchant and Halle Berry, like that idea, that dragged on too long though too, but it kind of had like a good, and I love Stephen Merchant. So but yeah, no, so I agree with you. Like I do think that a lot of sketch comedy struggles with that, and sometimes it can work. I don't know, like British ones can make it work, like Fry and Laurie. I think sometimes they might have long, but like sometimes the joke is also that it drags on so long, so then you have the joke of like, oh, this is funny, and then you keep going and it's boring, and eventually long enough like it becomes funny again. So that's like an idea that like the other TV shows and stuff will call out and do it intentionally. But yeah, so there are certain things that like it can be done like when it's intentional, like this is supposed to drag on, like you are supposed to be uncomfortable or bored by it. But
my favorite ones are Monty Python, which has some sequences that are just like like seconds. Like there's some of them are so short. And then the other one is that Mitchell and Webb look. I felt like they did a really, that show is good. Like
I've heard it, like I have a friend who really loves it, and I never really got into it though.
It's good, and they started as that Mitchell and Webb sound. So there's also some audio clips. One of them is really funny. It's a Harry Potter joke where he's basically acting like he's the head of Hufflepuff House, and he's addressing the kids after the Sorting Hat song, and how like denigrating it was to hear the things the Sorting Hat said about you as the Hufflepuff group. But then like a lot of their sketches were really amazing. Some of them were good because they were meta. They were like they did a lot of Sherlock Holmes shit because they're British. So like sometimes Mitchell would be Sherlock Holmes and Webb would be Watson, and sometimes they would switch that, and sometimes they would pretend like they're both playing both parts, and so like they did a bunch of like really silly shit like that. Like there was a scene where they're arguing over, and it's supposed to be them, it's not supposed to be any characters, where they're arguing over what cheese is. And they're screaming at each other. They're so into this argument over cheese. So like there's a bunch of shit like that. And some of it's really short. Some of it's incredibly short, like less than a minute. And I think sketch comedy though is expensive. And because of all the sets and the costumes. And so you kind of have to, I mean, Monty Python kept doing a bunch of stuff where they would have a desk or a counter, or they would repeat some characters.
But Fry and Laurie would do that too.
Yeah, you kind of have to do it because it's cheaper that way.
Yeah, I remember, I don't know why this popped in my head, but like we were just talking about sets. Like Fry and Laurie had a scene where like whatever, I don't even remember what the plot was. I think they had to like, we're breaking into the house, like the police officers needed to storm in or something, and like the camera was panning over and it like panned too far, so you saw that it was a set in the audience, and then like I think Hugh Laurie was just like trying to get him back over. So it was just
My
like,
favorite thing from A Bit of Fry and Laurie is the mystery song. It's from the first episode.
mystery. Oh yeah. When he sings, I always think, oh yeah, I forget that one. I mix it up
Yeah,
with
so I know that song really well, but it's like one of the lines is it's a love ballad.
yeah.
And like one of them, so like he's like what does he say? It's like dead since 1973.
Yeah.
You've been
That's
dead now.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, let me see.
Yeah. And that's what he is he doing? He says January in there, right?
He does.
January.
He's
That's the one.
everything with it. Yeah.
That's yeah. My favorite one was they had like he had to spell his name out or something, like he was like filling out a form or something, and then he was like, I'm like Mr. like NIPPL-E, and then like Mr. Nibble, what? No, like then he I think he had like something and he dropped it onto the desk though, and like that was how it's pronounced.
Yeah, I remember that sketch.
And then like
yeah.
NIPPL, like so weird. And so, I think Johnny Boy mentioned Kids in the Hall. Like I love Kids in the Hall too. Like, but sometimes like with them, like here's just like long drawn out scene, like all of them, like, oh, this one isn't that great, and this goes on for too long too, and this wasn't that funny. I did take a class with Kevin McDonald though, but I always loved Dave Foley. But yeah, like I think all sketch comedy, like sometimes like even the best ones, it's similar to improv where it's just like you're still gonna have, it's gonna be hit or miss, like some things aren't gonna be one, and some people are going to like certain ones more because it's so subjective. So with movie 43, I think you're right that a lot of them dragged on too long. They were fun, and I think because it was supposed to be stupid, that it was like more okay. Like I'm less criticizing of it because I think like it's supposed to be super weird, and so I get that. I don't know if you watched the both the wraparound things, but
I did not.
There are two versions of it. The one is with the kids that's the one that you would have watched. So they had the whole plot of like they're trying to find movie 43 because they make it up in the little brother to try and trick the little brother, and they go online and find all these clips, and then they has like weird time travel and all that. The other one, it was also funny. It had who was it again? I'm blanking on his name right now, but he's trying to pitch he's trying to pitch like a movie idea, and so then he's like, here's all these ideas, like, and it's just weird stuff. So it's like funny that he's at a movie studio, and then it becomes kind of meta where like they cut and like where it's like, oh, they're filming the movie for movie 43, and then they're just like, oh, do we need to have this ending? Let's just play the rest of the sketches. So they like kind of just like stop the filming of the movie of the pitch of it, and so like I thought that was kind of funny, but I thought the kids version made more sense as far as like they called it movie 43. I have no idea. With the theatrical release is the one that had the pitch with the movie pitch, and I don't know why it was called movie 43. Like it wasn't referenced at all. Like no one, at least just unless I missed it, but no one said anything about it. So I thought both of them are funny, but like the kids version kind of has a little bit more like full story. Dennis Quaid, that's who it was. They did have Seth MacFarlane and make a cameo appearance though during it, and so
I did see him listed. Like, yeah, I you're right. There was on IMDb, you see like the pitch ones, like, and I saw a bunch of names there, and I was like none of these people were in the version I watched.
Will Sasso is in. He played a security guard. That's what I think Dennis Quaid, they was like talking to the guy, like, how did you even get in here? Because he's like, I blew the security guard, and like that's, they're going back and forth about that, and like I'm surprised that he wanted, like he fought me every step of the way. And then he shows up later on, and Dennis Quaid has him at gunpoint, has like the all the people, and then he's telling him like, blow Jerry, the security guard though, and Jerry's just like, oh my god.
Not again.
Yeah. So they were like some really funny. I think I think the comedy might have been better in the Dennis Quaid, the pitch one, but the kids version of Finding It kind of made more sense as far as like having like what they were, even with the time travel, but just kind of having a full story of it, and why it was called Movie 43. But yeah, so that's all I really have for that. Let me see what Mutter Fetcher says. Ellie and Taj as a funny new British sketch comedy. I don't know that one. I like weird stuff too, Mutter Fetcher. That's my favorite. Like in Chicago, like the stuff that we did, I didn't like doing like political, topical stuff though. I always went for like, let me do weird things that were just setting up this world in this scene, and like enrolling with it. Like I've played like a werewolf doing a puppet show, like finger puppets or something, and so like I've just done like weird characters. So I like those more than like realistic things.
You know what I don't understand? So HBO has a sketch comedy show, and it's called A Black Lady Sketch Show.
I've heard of that.
And I was like, you couldn't have come up with a title? This is
funny
the placeholder.
Yeah.
But that's what it's called, and I'm like, that
even just the group name, and I guess maybe that is, if that is the group name, I don't know, but it did not make me interested in watching it.
No, because it doesn't show any like creativity. Like I'm like, you just described the show. You didn't.
Right.
You didn't name it. You described it.
Black Lady Sketch Show. Let's see, what do they have like a name here? Like the comedy troupe, like do they have a name for like the group of it? But I'm not seeing anything. Yeah, that's Phil Lamar's in it though. I do love him.
I just have a feeling that like, I don't know, like some producer at HBO goes, we need a sketch show, but maybe we should make it something that works with this new anti-racism wave.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. We'll do black people. But we got to make it feminist too. So
Yeah. Throwing all these things.
I picture like marketing people like going through this, and then what do we name it?
The funny BIPOC woman show for you. That's what Johnny Boy says. We make you laugh show. I actually would like that. I'd be fine with that as a name, though. Like,
yeah, I would too.
Because that is, yeah. Like, I don't know. That's playful. That's a playful name compared to just saying this is a Black Lady like that. I don't know. There's a difference there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna have to watch Black Lady sketch show now just to talk about it.
I feel like you almost said Black Lady Cop.
I was going to say comedy show, I think was what I was going to do. Black Lady Cop. No, we'll make a new show for that. Okay, well, it's time for bedtime. It's bedtime for you, right?
Yeah.
So we can wrap it up here because, yeah, there isn't anything. Like I said, there wasn't a ton of Movie 43 is just kind of a weird anthology comedy. There are funny parts to it, but like I still would say I'll rank Movie 43 over Bros, even with the dragginess, but I think Bros dragged way more for me. Like it was just like the funny parts were way fewer and far between than it was for Movie 43. And I'll let Motown know what your opinion was on it, so he'll probably harass you later.
Okay.
But all right, well, thank you guys for watching. Again, tomorrow on Unsafe Space, the last occasional levity until we move it over here, TBD for time and day on that. And so we're still figuring things out. Once I know if I have a job or not, we'll plan that out better. So that'll be at 6 p.m. Eastern. That is 3 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Mountain Time now. 5 p.m. Central. All right, covering.
Yeah, in the weirdest way possible.
Yeah, I'm just starting over here and going, wrapping around.
Central.
Well, because I started doing like, I'm just gonna start for my channel only really advertising Eastern time. Everyone else can figure it out from there. But then I kind of like once I start saying it, I feel bad, and I'm like, let me go back and do Pacific.
I usually just say Mountain Time for all my shows.
Yeah, and yours is the harder one. Like at least the coast people can do it more. Like Mountain Time, like where even is that?
Well, so many places don't do any time change at all. So, and I have a lot of international viewers.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, like, it's much easier. Like, that's the thing. I have viewers in places like Chile and the like, and they some of them do a time change, but they do it on a different like date. So it's like it's not worth it for me to try to like name every fucking. I'm like I'd be doing all 24 hours.
Yeah, no.
I do have some viewers in Asia too.
Yeah, and I know that like, and well, maybe next year we might not be doing time changes either. What about Papua New Guinea time zones? Black Lady Kamala's early years. Mutterfetcher says Ella be in Dallas apparently. I don't know, Mutter. Juliet just talked to her and she like seemed to confirm that she would be on at some point tomorrow, but she might also maybe she's traveling last minute, is changing, which I think is a hilarious way to end Occasional Levity, because she was supposed to start, like the first episode was supposed to have her and then she didn't show up though, and then the last one's supposed to have her now and she might not show up. So either way, I think it'll be hilarious.
Mutterfetcher asked, Arizona strap daylight savings? No, we never had it.
Yeah.
We never adopted it officially.
Which it starts so early here, and then it's so late early. I'm like, I'm not waking up that early, so stop having the sun into the bedroom right now. So I can't wait for the sunlight or the daylight to get longer again. Not till what, December 22nd? Yeah, winter solstice. So it's gonna keep getting shorter. Okay, yeah. So tomorrow, Occasional Levity, maybe with Elle. Some bitch I know, maybe not. Either way, it's gonna be 3 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Mountain, 5 p.m. Central, and 6 p.m. Eastern. And we'll see. I should be here for it though. I'm busy. I have to drive to Pittsburgh. It's like 2 hours away to go to the airport, and then driving back, and then going to meet up about newspaper stuff. So we'll see how things go there. And then I'm coming back here to do the stream. So it's just a very long, busy day.
I will tell you this. I will be in this chair almost all day.
So envious. But all right. Well, thank you guys for watching, and thank you, Alex, for streaming with me. And I've got links to share for Alex's links.
I do have a video coming out tomorrow at 3 p.m.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, I do. It's a Warframe highlights reel.
Okay. I can't find any of the links now. Let me open up do you have your YouTube link?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. I thought I had it on here and then it's just gone. Oh, there it is. Okay. I have it now too. Double posting. I'm going to put in Rumble. And then we've got this. And
that's my community page. Oops.
Oh.
I didn't realize that's what I had up.
I posted the right one. So and then you guys already have, so yeah, you guys are already here watching it, so I don't even need to post for this channel. I do have Discord. I think everyone here is already in it, but I'm going to post it just in case. And Rumble, it's / the dim side, not on here. And I still couldn't get, I chose the username thing though. I did the dim side 45 because that's my favorite number, but I have not heard back from YouTube about being able to get the name that I'm trying to use, that the other account on YouTube has never used since like 2010 or 8 or whatever, 2008 I think though. So and
I feel like the thing is though is that it's like who is active, not like who's holding their
like who just made it early on though. Like if they are not using it at all, like why can't I have it? Like and I think maybe they would give it to me. Like live chat seemed to be like, oh, they were trying to do something, but then they were like, you're on the wrong email address, because it wasn't letting me like transfer over, and I had to start it again. And then once I was on the other one, it wouldn't let me do the live chat in the same way. And then once I finally got there, he was like, you have to email it. So he transferred over to email, and I never heard back from anything. So it was
that's nice.
yeah, so that was fun. Oh, Motown says that he watched the stream. He wasn't even, so he heard you talk. I'm sure he heard. He says, I hate you both. He said he just finished it. I mean, we're still going. Yeah, I figured he'd probably. I was defending movie 43 more, so. Yeah, he said he only watched it one time beforehand when we watched, because he and I watched it together, and like that was only the second time watching it, but he's been like pushing for it for months.
Yeah, it was just, I don't know. It didn't hold me that much.
And I don't know why he hates me us both, because like I said, I like it more than Bros. I do agree, but I can criticize that with Fry and Laurie and Kids in the Hall and Monty Python. Like it's sketch comedy, it's hit or miss. That's just how it is. And I'll criticize when things drag on too long. So suck it, O-Town. But all right, well, thank you guys. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow on Occasional Levity. Bye, Alex. I love you.